wait a minute, that ship is off the coast of Hawaii, 10 miles. And if it can do that, it would completely decimate not only Hawaii, but it would completely decimate the entire West Coast.
Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, it looks like we have Pagan. Pagan, you're live.
Hey, Adam, how's it going?
Hey, so my wife told me about what you were saying about the submarines, and it kind of just, it just like, I was crazy shocked. I never thought of that myself. I mean, it's simple, but it's at the same time, it's like, that totally makes sense. So why don't you tell it yourself?
Well, I was just sitting here thinking the other day whenever I saw that we had an unidentified ship 10 miles off the coast of Hawaii. And I was watching your show the other night, and whenever, or I don't remember if it was a show or if it was one of your shorts, like little clips you do before you go live before your show. But one of your thumbnails was like a 200 or a 300-foot wave.
Yeah.
Well, that, would come onto the West Coast here. Well, I seen that thumbnail, and it just like, you know how you remember something and it's like almost you get sucked through a tunnel and then bam, you're there at that memory. And I was like, oh my gosh, that bear that was off, I don't remember exactly where off the coast, but that they averted world catastrophe, that those bears died on that ship. So, and then whenever you did that one, I was like, wait a minute, that ship is off the coast of Hawaii, 10 miles. And if it can do that, it would completely decimate not only Hawaii, but it would completely decimate the entire West Coast. And in California, we have one or two different ports, and we have a lot of military stuff that's really close to that coast down south. So, and it just, I was like, holy cow. And I've just been like, oh God, I've got to refresh everybody's memory, because this is just so wild and so big that it all just fits together. And I think we are closer to a conflict than anybody realizes or wants to believe. And I just feel like it's really tied together. And our heads are always on a swivel, but we just need to remember this, because we have all these things distracting us right now. We have the JD show that's all over YouTube, and everybody's talking about JD and AH. And it's just, we're completely distracted, the leaks that happened with the courts and whatnot. And we're just being severely distracted, and we're not paying attention to what we need to be paying attention to. So I just thought I'd call in and kind of refresh everybody's memory about it, and just remind everybody that it might be a little deeper than anybody's wanting to admit.
So I just want to let people know that are not familiar with this. I tried to pull up the Bloomberg article, but it's making me subscribe. So I'm pulling up the New York Post. So the Vladians that basically there was an accident in the sea with a very, very top secret submarine. And this was back in 2019 or 2019. And essentially what happened is this caught fire inside. Whatever happened, 17 sailors perished. Now, at the time, that day, I was downtown Seattle, and I believe I was down there shooting a video, And what happened is I remember getting a call from Dex, and he's like, something's up. The president, basically his schedule was cleared, and at the time it was T-Man. President Pence, or VP Pence, was on a flight somewhere. They said that he had turned around and went back to the White House. You had a Cobra meeting in the UK or in Europe, basically the emergency defense ministry kind of thing. And then you had Vlad have an emergency defense ministry meeting. So all this stuff was going on at the same time. And apparently this top secret sub caught fire. And a lot of us question, like, did it have a, this wasn't a weapons submarine. Normally, nobody knows what this submarine's really for. It was called the Losherik. But it's top secret, and even we don't know everything about it, even like our high clearance people. But this thing caught fire, and then at the funeral of the 17 sailors, it said, the commander said that these sailors essentially prevented a planetary catastrophe. Now remember, they have said that they have this nuke that can cause 300-foot wide, or actually now they're saying 1,500-foot tall waves, 500 meters in the sky, could wipe out a whole country because they would take all the water and just shove it over everything, right? This caught fire, and apparently some are saying that the 17 sailors, to prevent the fire from spreading to this big weapon, sealed them off and purposely basically took their own lives to stop it from preventing, because this submarine had basically literal balls. They call it Losherik because it's their inside of the main hub is these juggling balls. They named it after a juggling clown because it has this weird structure that can go super deep. And then they may have locked themselves in to prevent. Now, what Pagan has said is essentially that they may have done this because they had one of those 1,500 meter or 1,500 feet nukes on board, and maybe that's why. So, Pagan, very good catch.
Yes, no problem. I just wanted to bring it back to your attention, and just something we need to keep an eye on. So that's all. And I miss you guys too. So had to call in and say hi.
All right. Well, hey, it's nice talking to you again. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
And again, have a great day. Be safe.
Yep. You too, Adam. Love you guys. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye. Marf out. So, I mean, think about that. If there was one of these weapons on board, and this is right around when he said he had them, and something happened. Maybe they hit another boat. Maybe they hit another submarine. Something happened. There was a fire on board, and essentially, if this is how it went down, possibly the 14 sailors saved the comrades, saved the ships, and averted a catastrophe on a planetary scale. That was Sergei Pavlov, an aide to the Vladian Navy's commander, was quoted by a local outlet, Fontanka, as saying at the private funeral that happened. And then it said that officials in Moscow have faced accusations of trying to cover up the full details of the incident on the vessel. It took 3 days for President Vladimir to publicly acknowledge that there had been a nuclear reactor on board. So I don't know if it was just a nuclear reactor here. It's pretty nuts. Something happened. You don't just say planetary catastrophe. By definition, planetary catastrophe is a planetary catastrophe. Something massive happened, and the reason I think that it is because that day, if you go back into history, I was downtown freaking out thinking that something just happened and something just started. I went live and I said, this is crazy. There was a Cobra meeting. There was a Ministry of Defense. Something just popped off. And then they lied about Pence basically turning around. He was supposed to be somewhere in like 3 hours, and then all of a sudden, boom, he stopped. And then they lied and said he had never left. It was weird. Like, they turned around his plane 180 and said, let's go home. It was freaking nuts. So I think that may have been the case. I feel like that's like a common sense answer to what this planetary catastrophe could have been. And it's something they say we have. And our military members say that they have been told that this thing is real. This super nuke, it's basically kind of like a Satan 2, only in a drone type thing. and it can just go boom, and it displaces so much water, it can just literally send a 1,500-foot wave. Pretty crazy. All right, and then, but it would have worldwide effects. That's the bad part. It would probably affect parts of Vlad, too. So they would have to do it in certain places. I believe they would have to do it on the other side of the planet for it to have less damage to actual Vlad country, too. I do want to remind you right now, if you have not already, make sure to go over and check out, since this seems like good timing since Andrew stopped by. If you guys haven't checked out their company, the reason why we represent this so hard is because we actually believe in this company. Not only did this company start before they got all of their crazy contracts with agencies like DHS and DOD, they were a very small company working out of one building in Kansas, hand building these things, and they had a product that really just outshined all of the rest. And that's because their EMP shield can not only stop or, ground the signal of all three phases of an EMP in 500 trillionths of a second, but it can also protect you against CMEs, so the natural kind, a Carrington level event. So if and when we have an actual solar flare that hits us with a CME that's strong enough to knock down our grid, again, we will have a very strong one. We'll have a Carrington level event at some point. We just don't know when. This can actually protect your devices. It can protect your cars. It can protect your house, your boats, your RVs, your motorcycles, even your ham radio. They make a different device for pretty much everything, including they have now just started making devices that can protect the energy solar generator. So no matter what you have, they most likely have a device that can actually ground the signal of these, and multiple times with zero degradation to the unit. And it can just keep taking it. These are Keystone military tested, and again, this is the same company that was actually mentioned in the EMP resilience report by Department of Homeland Security. This is a no-joke product, and again, it outshines all of the rest. It's 100% American-made. Every single piece, every screw in this thing is made here, and it's a veteran-owned business. Not only that, with our grandfathered-in discount, you will get $50 off per device. And again, that means if you get 3, you will get $50 off per. That's $150 off. If you get 2, that's $100. Again, really good discount for all of the Foogle fam. Make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP.
Feed the haters to the alligators. Your way or the highway, see you later. DOD is the homie and Mr. Vader. If it wasn't for you, I would never made it. Whole city's covered by the cremated. Now they listen to what we were saying. Doesn't matter if the manufacturer or created. But now